Three young girls who were killed in a knife attack in Southport have been named. 7-year-old Elsie Stankham died at the dance class on Monday morning. She was described by a teacher at her primary school as loving and bright and a caring and charismatic young lady. 6-year-old BB King's family said that no words can describe the devastation that's hit our family as we try to deal with the loss of our little girl. A 9-year-old Alice Aguiar died in hospital on Tuesday morning. Her parents said to keep smiling and dancing like you love to do, our princess. Well, yesterday, hundreds of people gathered for a vigil to remember the 3 girls and the 5 children and 2 adults who remain in a critical condition. Our correspondent, John Maguire, was there.
Thankfully, very few communities will ever have been tested like this before. But people came to the centre of Southport last night to stand together in a show of solidarity and support.
Southport is not used to global attention. To be known around the globe for a defining incident has shook us all to the core.
What happened to the most innocent residents of this seaside town on Monday is incomprehensible. So coming to this vigil, doing something to pay tribute and to help is all people can do.
Obviously, with everybody else, you know, if you're just feeling that it's cruel, it just shouldn't happen, not this day and age, you know what I mean? It's like the first week the kids are on holiday and they've just come and done this. So, you know, with our little street, it's just her
collection in our little street. Got loads of teddies, flowers, balloons, and brought them up.
I wanted to come and just pay our respects from our street.
Trying to cope with such a cruel and vicious attack is both an individual and a collective task. Southport's newly elected MP, just days into his job as one of the leaders of this community, knows no amount of experience could prepare him for this.
When I was elected earlier in July, obviously nobody could have expected this, but whether you're 3 weeks into the job or 30 years, there's no preparation for something like this. Southport has been shook to its core. Everybody is hurting. There's a range of emotions, and it's fear, it's anger, it's confusion that people are feeling. But what I'm really pleased about is that seeing the vigil that we're at this evening, that we're at today, Southport is coming together as one and showing that we will heal, we will get through this together, and that we are there to show solidarity and support to those who've been immediately affected by this incident.
Near the scene of the attack, cards, flowers and soft toys are placed. Some by friends and family, some by strangers, all moved to pay tribute in their own way. There was applause for those first responders whose actions will have saved lives, and appreciation for the service they provide. In the days and weeks ahead, help and support will be vital here.
You go around and you share your experiences with people across the country, and you tell them how wonderful your borough is. This is just proven exactly, you know, everybody has come together. We need to support each other. That's absolutely what everyone's doing here tonight, and there will be more support from us as a council and our partners as well.
I invite you now with me to hold a minute silence.
At the vigil, the large crowd bowed heads and fell silent. But also there was spontaneous applause whenever a speaker urged people to look after each other, and especially the families of the young victims. Hopefully there's some solace to be gained from the presence of so many people.
It's the fact that it's our town. I only moved here 12 years ago, and it's been, my partner said, in a good way, nothing ever happens here. And everyone's just in shock, and we kind of can't believe it, and the fact that it's little girls, it's 3 innocent lives lost, and everyone needs to come together. Everyone's come here to show how much love that we have for the families and for everyone involved. The emergency services, everyone who have been affected by it. It's a horrible thing to happen.
Families here are holding their children closer than ever before, while trying to explain the inexplicable of what happened in their hometown and why. John Maguire, BBC News, Southport.
Well, it was only a matter of hours after that vigil that scenes in Southport turned violent yesterday evening. And we're joined now by Merseyside's Police and Crime Commissioner, Emily Spurrell. Good morning to you. Thank you for joining us. I know you were at the vigil itself. What did you think when you learned about the violence, the disorder that followed just on the neighbouring streets minutes later?
I was incredibly disappointed. As you say, I was at the vigil last night, and I couldn't believe really just how many people had turned out to pay their respects to the family, to support one another, to just be there at peace and try and grieve and process to such an awful, awful attack. And so obviously then to see then only minutes later that violence spew out into the street was incredibly, incredibly disappointing. I think it's worth pointing out as well, this violence that was being targeted at, particularly at police officers. These are the same police officers who were back on shift after responding to the knife incident the day before. So it is really, really awful, distressing, abhorrent behaviour from these individuals who are seeking to use such a tragic event to target police officers and the wider community and put everyone's lives at risk.
What do we know about who they were and what motivated these attacks?
There's still a lot being worked out. Merseyside Police will obviously be reviewing the footage of exactly who was there. They have said they believe that this was largely driven by the English Defence League, and they believe that there were a number of people who have come from out of area, taking advantage, as I say, of this tragic incident to peddle far right and incite violence and hatred. So they do believe that this is not necessarily reflective of the local community, but they will be reviewing the footage to understand exactly who was there and taking any appropriate action.
I mean, this has become politicised very quickly, hasn't it? Which is tragic considering what's gone on here for the families and the whole community affected. We want to ask you about the extent to which you think social media has played a part. We heard from Southport MP Patrick Hurley saying a swirling morass of social media lies and propaganda is behind the criticism of Sir Keir Starmer. I mean, how big a part has this played in fanning the flames?
We have definitely seen a number of accounts online who have been sharing misinformation, speculation. They've been, setting up false accounts, creating false names. The police came out yesterday and made it very clear that the name that was circulating on social media was completely inaccurate and was not true. There is still a lot we don't know about the incident, about what happened, about the motivations for the individual on Monday's attack. And so all the information that is being put out there, lots of which is rumour and misinformation, and none of it has been verified. So I would really urge individuals to be very careful of what they are sharing online. I know that people are angry and I know that people want answers, and rightly so, because we want to understand how such a devastating attack can happen in somewhere like Southport. But the amount of misinformation and speculation is absolutely, furthering a right-wing agenda. And unfortunately, we saw the fallout from that last night.
We're hearing that a local mosque came under attack. What have you heard about that?
I'm aware that the protesters that came in, they targeted the mosque because they believe somehow that they are responsible. But I think we need to be very clear here that this mosque has been there for a number of years. They are a part of that community, and they are a part of the same community that is grieving for the loss of these poor little girls, and those girls and other children still in hospital. So it is utterly unacceptable to have targeted the mosque in this way. There is nothing at this point to suggest that there is any link there. And as I say, they are part of the community. They have lived there peacefully as part of the community for a long time. And the local residents themselves are absolutely condemning this attack because it's not what is needed right now. It's not what the families want, and it's just seeking to divide the community, which is absolutely what we don't want at this time.
And this is a time that Merseyside Police would never have expected, anticipated or, of course, invited. But equally, the response from the community around Southport and Merseyside, we've been incredibly touched by.
Yeah, I mean, the community have been absolutely incredible from the second that the incident happened. We've seen community organisations throwing open their doors. We've seen people raising money online. We've seen people, delivering food parcels. I'm aware that head teachers are offering to open up schools again, because obviously it's the summer holidays, but to try and give somewhere for children to go if they need to process what's happened. I'm aware that there were community members out on the streets this morning just helping to clear up after the devastation of last night's violence. This is an incredibly strong, resilient community, and they are determined for that message to get across. The violence and abuse that we saw last night is not reflective of the wider community, and what I've seen is a brilliant community who are coming together to support everyone in whatever way they can.
Emily Spurrell, thank you for joining us this morning. That news that 39 police officers hurt, 27 taken to hospital in Southport last night.